Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching Pam and Tommy, Season 1, Episode 3, Jane Fonda.
It makes sense.
It does. It was actually good. I am surprised by how invested I kind of am in. Are you too?
Yeah.
They came on real strong with him, but...
I'm sad. Like, it makes me sad.
He's just so in love with her.
It's like so weird.
It's weird and kind of cute.
It's a little cute. To me, it's less... It is cute, but he also is like a lunatic.
He's a crazy person. Yeah. It's that whole thing, the Arrested Development, that people get stuck at the age they became famous, and so it's like a boy.
Yeah.
It's like... But he's just... I never thought of that. Like, I never considered that he was just that in love with her, and that they just kind of... I mean, they didn't have really... He certainly didn't have restraints. Sure. She had more...
But also, I feel like when you're with that type of person, your own restraints and boundaries just go out the window because it's so intoxicating.
Mm-hmm. But he's going through... more than the motions, he's going through this stuff with her because she's a little bit woo-woo.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get pregnant, and they do this whole
it's like a blessing over
ritual
the pregnancy
thing.
Test. Yeah.
And he's like her biggest fan, biggest cheerleader. That was
the cutest part.
That was a subplot, is that I think she's 4 years into Baywatch at this point.
Only 2, I think.
Was she only really on for 2 seasons?
No, she was from like 92 to 97.
Okay, they said something about her maybe leaving. Maybe she doesn't, because barbed wire doesn't. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work out. But she was talking about how they were not giving her any material. And in this one episode, she's supposed to have this, big drug monologue. And the thing about it is, if this is to be believed, we're in the same as we were with American Crime Story impeachment, where it's like we're taking this as gospel for the show. I don't know where they get off.
Continue.
Deriding her as if the show isn't literally being bought and sold on her image.
Sure, especially at this point.
And B, she's a fine actress. Yeah. She's not great, but she's also, she's holding a candle to David Hasselhoff and Carmen Electra. Do you know what I mean? It's like she's in her lane.
There's like a reason why most of the people on Baywatch are not still working actors. You know what I mean?
But you know what I mean? And so I'm just sort of like, the scene, it's one thing to go ahead and like cut it, but because they cut the scene before they even film it. And I was like, they could have let her do it.
Yeah, just let her film it. Like, like so she has it for her reel. I mean, come on.
Because she delivers it, and it's fine. It's fine. It's like I mentioned, a Saturday morning procedural. It's fine.
Did it air in the morning?
Yeah, 11. I think. That's when we watched it, Saturday mornings.
I assumed it was prime time.
I mean, at one point it was, but when it was in its heyday, when we were watching it, it was Saturday mornings.
It aired for 10 years.
They might have reran it or something. So, inspired by Tommy, she goes back and I would say asks, but she kind of tells them that she's going to do it.
I think it's always like the right amount of chutzpah, because
you were impressed.
The 2 of the guys were like, oh, okay. And they like let her do it, but the 2 of the guys were like, oh, I see. And I'm just sort of like, you got the balls when you go, you're like, you know what? I think we should do it. You can shoot all my sides now, and when the actress comes back, you can shoot her sides, and the eye line will be perfect. And I was just like,
she knew all the words, like literally and metaphorically. And it's reminding me of, which I think we're going to be getting another project soon with Samara Weaving as Holly Madison.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They cast it. I haven't heard anything about its production since, but it's reminding me of The Girls Next Door, because they undervalued the girls. Mm-hmm.
Nobody is watching The Girls Next Door for Hugh Hefner.
E was like, you are interchangeable. It is the illusion of...
Down the rabbit hole. I forgot. Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's the illusion of wealth and privilege that comes with the Playboy name. And sure, that was a factor, but people watched that show because they like those 3 girls and their chemistry. That show was about each other. Like, also, their relationships with each other.
I remember when Bridget and Holly and Kendra left, and they tried to keep doing it, and it was not good.
And so
no one kept watching.
There's a part of me where it's like, she doesn't need to be a diva, and I don't want that to be the case, and I don't want them to go down that path.
Yeah.
But they can patronize her a little bit at this point. You know what I mean? It's
100%.
So we got. I wrote, Rand seems to think that this whole mission is karmically blessed.
Yeah.
What's the Susan B. Anthony's quote? I distrust people who know so well what it is God wants them to do.
Yeah.
I find it coincides with their own interests. I think it was Susan B. Anthony. I don't remember. But yes, he seems to think this is cosmically sanctioned. And we met his ex-wife.
Well, they are getting
estranged wife
now that he is about to have money.
Is that why?
Yeah, so they are technically still married, but at the end he was signing the divorce papers.
Well, I was like, they had this date. Why would he sign the papers now? But it's because he's about to have money. Interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
It's Taylor Schilling. Welcome. And
she looks great. Mm-hmm. And weirdly, this time period suits her like a whole lot. The
hair and makeup isn't wearing her.
She didn't even register as herself when I first saw her. I had to look up who
I was waiting for her because I saw in one of the blurbs. But she is we'll go with porn star. I think that they throw that term around loosely.
She's
a working porn actress. And they had their meet cute. We saw it. He's
like a handyman.
Yeah, an inspiring inventor.
Like a microwave, but for cold.
Cooler wave. And they apparently get married and have their fling, and then they're no longer together. Is the other girl her girlfriend? The roommate?
That I don't know.
There's an implication of that. Yeah. They had a very sitcom-y Carol and Susan and Ross banter.
If I were in porn, I think I would also choose to spend my free time with
women. So she called him because he's the handyman, and she needed to have her toilet fixed, and it was a very old toilet. And he needed this piece, and through a series or very organic, actually, because I kind of don't love that really heavy-handed, and that's where the idea came from.
Yeah.
But in trying to find this very antiquated piece, he stumbles upon
a website for a hardware store in Ohio, and he just is like, as he's about to read his credit card number to the guy that owns the shop, he's like, oh, wait a minute.
So we've talked about this a lot. I mean, I know everybody's personal life experience is unique and special to them, but we do feel very blessed to be the age we are because we genuinely got a glimpse of the world before and the world after.
Yeah.
And I find it so fascinating because, again, I was 10 years old. We were 9, 10, 11 over the span of the story. And but we were learning things organically. Like you're as a child, your brand new earth-shattering concepts are being introduced to you left and right. It's so interesting to watch the web explained to adults.
Amazing.
And it's
by an adult to an adult.
And especially that it's already there. Mm-hmm. It's not hypothetical. It's already there and it's free. Anyone can do it.
That whole sequence of Seth Rogen explaining that to Nick Offerman was so fucking
But think about that now. Yeah. That is insane.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I loved it because I was 10 before we had even like a word processor computer. But with like internet computer, I was like 13 before we had like 13 or 14 before I had an internet computer.
So my dad worked for the Washington Post, so we had
access.
Internet and a computer in like 94.
Yeah.
And even before that, I was familiar with it as a concept, and as a child, I liked mermaids. So I would ask my dad to bring me back pictures of mermaids.
Oh, fun.
And he did, but he was like, I'm getting some looks at work. Because the early web was wild.
Yeah.
Good for better and worse, as we are.
It's the Wild West now.
Yeah. Well, there was more optimism in the earlier days before all the companies got involved, and like not to be unoriginal with my hot takes, but
I remember my mom and my uncle would email back and forth. They would like set aside an hour, and instead of having a phone conversation, they would like email back and forth for like an hour.
Well, and that's what like the message, because there was a mermaid website called Sea Tales.
Yeah.
That it was massive. And it was basically just this massive database of just like, because that was also when I realized, because I was just interested in the art of it all, the mermaid of it all. And apparently their mermaids can go hand in hand with pornography as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, some of those pictures, I was like, oh.
Interesting.
But no, it's wild to think about and to remember. So they come up with this plan to sell the tape through the internet, and they go to,
well, they do try to distribute it to like actual
Vivid
porn distributors first, and everybody is like, you don't have releases, so absolutely not, because I'll get sued, and Tommy Lee has tons of lawyers, I'll get sued. And so then they finally are like, they decide on the internet thing, and then they start looking for investors because they need startup money, because they have to like produce all of these videotapes.
It's also so interesting selling it. I mean, this is obvious. This is to be expected from this production. But anytime that they're selling it, it's Pamela Anderson.
Yeah.
Anytime that they're talking about consequences or responsibility, it's Tommy Lee. It's Tommy Lee's lawyers. It's Tommy Lee's money. It's Tommy Lee.
I don't like it. Because that's the thing. Here's the thing that makes me the angriest about this whole scenario is that Rand is trying to get revenge, karmic revenge on Tommy Lee, because Tommy Lee was a dick to him and didn't pay him and kept his tools. That all is all shitty behavior. I'm not arguing Tommy Lee.
His vendetta is warranted.
It's warranted. But Tommy Lee is not the one that gets hurt by this. It's Pam Anderson. And I hate that. It makes me furious. Like, and I can't put words into this man's mouth. I don't know if maybe he wouldn't have done it if he had known what the outcome was going to be. But it's like all he's thinking about is Tommy Lee. He is not even thinking about the woman in the tape at all. And that is the grossest part to me.
Oh, it was.
Especially because she's the most famous one.
To quote that quote from the Lady Gaga documentary that shot through you like lightning, she's like a receptacle. Like. For men's feelings and pain and
I hate that word.
Energy and
again, I'll say it here because we were watching it and he's like making the like art for the like the website in the front of the like tape sleeves and everything, and it just is like raw and uncut, and I think the word raw in relation to pornography is disgusting. I just no thank you. It's all those words I don't like. It just
So yeah, they find some producer, Butchie Pirano, who produced Deep Throat, and
he is also not for it at first.
Oh, it's Andrew Dice Clay, and Milton pitches it like he's the money guy, he's a producer, but he's a mafia loan shark.
Because it's like $50,000, 10% interest, compounding weekly, and you have to pay it back in a month. Which, I mean, I assume they do because this catches like wildfire, but
also they get in trouble somewhere. There's a court case, so they get caught up somewhere. Also, I mean, I understand the gumption of it, but because they at this meeting go to the bathroom to actually come up with a business plan.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they really need to be more on the same.
Before you're getting mafia loan sharks involved, I think you should really have a solid business
Who's
plan.
running the books? Like,
you should at least know which of you is handling the money.
It wasn't ironclad. The operation.
So then I don't know what Nick Offerman is doing on these planes. He's going everywhere on planes.
The money. He's setting up like Swiss. It was
Canada.
Dutch, Amsterdam.
He went to Canada first. He went to Montreal first, but okay, that makes sense. If he's setting up like a chain of
bank accounts,
and then okay, I get it now.
There was this amazing montage of Pam and the assistant's hair and makeup in the hair and makeup trailer singing "Love Fool" to be a fly on the wall. It just is. It was so good.
That is like one of the top 5 pop songs of all time. It's amazing.
And I did forget to mention that he presumably makes her Greek food, like a bunch of it. Because at first I was with you that I was like, he ordered that, but it was coming out of glass casserole dishes.
It was. He was just bringing it out of the kitchen as if he was slaving all day, which was sort of adorable.
It really was. I was very surprised. And
he made dolmadas. Those are hard to make.
His Greekness is cute. I didn't know that. And it is very interesting watching them continue
Still
to get to know
each other. Yeah,
because she doesn't even know that her now last name is not
Bass.
his last name.
Yeah,
That Lee is his middle name.
yeah.
And that's just that moment where she's like, huh. And it's like. So we did she took a meeting with a PR woman who seemed sharp. I at first I was like, this woman's no good. But then
no, she seemed great. She seemed like she really wanted to know. That's where we get the Jane Fonda, because she asks her, who do you aspire to?
I love the woman that was like, every PR campaign should be able to be boiled down to one word. And I was like,
story.
All of that was so good. And then when she asked her who her role model, who she wanted to emulate was, the sigh of relief that it's not Marilyn Monroe. Do you know what I mean?
Could you fucking imagine?
The fact that she actually, because I think that detail came from somewhere, so I'm going to attribute it to Pamela Anderson.
And the Jane Fonda of it all is such a smart one to pick, because she's right, where she was like,
Barbarella's smut.
Yeah, she was a sex symbol, and then she was, like, she did a little comedy, she started doing activism, then she started taking Oscar roles.
She did political stuff. Because Pamela is very political.
Yeah.
With
all the PETA stuff, yeah.
And I was kind of impressed. I was kind of like, okay, she certainly has an image, and she certainly has a lane. I think that for me, that's the moral, is I don't think she gets out of her lane. I don't think she's getting into stuff that she doesn't, places where she doesn't belong.
Yeah.
And that's especially frustrating when you consider, how she has been maligned, or the reputation, yada, you know what I mean?
Well, the end of the episode, basically, she makes her stand on the set of Baywatch. She has the meeting with the lady, and then she is at home. She finds out she's pregnant. They're very happy. Everything in the world is good. And then we cut to the fucking VCRs just ripping the tape over and over and over again. So sad. Don't like it. So sad.
Rand went on a date with Erica where it seemed like there's still something there. So it was I'm interested.
Oh, and apparently he has a small penis.
I don't know that was necessarily the takeaway. Do you think that's the takeaway?
Nick Offerman says the words, "I don't have anybody on the roster with a small penis," and she literally looks at Seth Rogen and is like, do you want to put it in my butt for this movie? And then he does.
We found out, I don't know if we remembered it, but we found out that he had done a porn scene with her like 5 years prior. And so we got the backstory that I didn't think we were going to get, but it was appreciated. Okay, for me, yes, that was a factor. That wasn't the takeaway. For me, the takeaway, was that.
Well, because also we mentioned, because he's jerking off in the first episode, and Will was like, what is he even jerking? And you were like, nothing. You can see at the bottom, but I think that's the point, is that it's very small. Is that not the point?
I mean,
feels like the point.
That seems cheap. That seems low hanging, or not.
Yeah, but they were like bringing in the guy that was gonna put it in her ass, and she was like, absolutely not. Again, boundaries.
We love to see it.
Yeah, we love to see respected female boundaries in pornography,
in sex work. So yeah, I'm pretty in. Yeah. I think it's fun. I think, which is a weird word to equate with it, but I like the balance, the tone, all of that stuff. So
I am loving it. I think it's like really. Just the acting is so good, but I'm liking the story, because I actually don't know a lot of background about this case or anything.
Said that Sebastian's doing a good job as well, especially with the voice work and stuff.
He literally started laughing halfway through the episode and was like, he sounds just like him. And she sounds just like, she's doing good. Every once in a while, I can remember she's English, because the way English people say certain words. Because
also, though, Pam is Canadian.
Yes.
So she said something, and I went, well, that was a weird Canadian accent. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that was intentional. Yeah. So it's
working. It's just every once in a while. It's like when Portia de Rossi tries to be American, and I'm like, anything. Yeah.
So it's 8 episodes. I think it is going to be weekly from here on out. Yeah. So 5 more. You watch
Let's do some
a gay man do math in real time.
simple math.
5. You got 5 more weeks with us.
Yep.
So, all right.
We'll be back next week.
Like, follow, thank you, and you're welcome.
Yep. Bye.
Make your own kind of music. Sing your own special song.